In this topic, we're going to look at some participation trends in the sport and recreation industry. Imagine 40, 50 years ago, this is the body of people who were active, and most of them would have been involved in some sort of competitive or organised sport. A few people would have gone out jogging and done fitness-based activities, but most people were involved in some sort of organised sport. So this is how our whole active population. What's happened now though is that we've had a division, and perhaps this many people are now involved in organised sport. So a much smaller proportion of the population. This many people over here are perhaps involved in fitness-based activities. So moving away from the organised either Saturday or midweek evening sport, that regular time commitment, and perhaps they've taken up a fitness activity which they can do at a time that suits them. It may not be the same time every week, may not be the same time every day. So this group of people played football on a Saturday. This group of people might go to the gym 3 times a week, but sometimes it's Monday afternoon, sometimes it's Wednesday lunchtime, sometimes it's Thursday morning. It's a bit flexible to fit around their busy lifestyle. And this group of people down the bottom, they're the ones that do nothing. They're the ones that we've lost out of the sport and rec industry. They're the ones that are at risk of that increased obesity because they're not doing regular exercise. Because even this fitness group over here, they're the ones out walking the dog on a regular basis. This 60% group down the bottom, they're the ones that are at increased risk of those heart diseases and obesity. They're the ones that we really need to focus on. We've looked at the trends in adult participation. Now we're going to have a look at what's happening with children's participation in sport. It's a little bit different. The adult organised sport participation is decreasing. The percentage of children that are participating in organised sport is actually increasing. So there's been a gradual or a very slight increase in participation rates for children up to about the age of 12 to 14 in organised sport and dance. They've included dance in that, so the ballet lessons that the younger children have. So if we look at this, there's that quite a high level of participation around 12 to 14. But then it drops off quite dramatically. And this is a little bit concerning. That drop off signifies a whole group of young people that are heading for that 60% of people that don't do regular exercise. There's not a lot of teenagers, for example, that will just on their own, for their own reasons, hop up out of bed and go for a run. They'll go for a run if they play football or cricket or netball or hockey and they need to be fit to play that sport. But if they don't have a reason and a driver to be fit, they'll just laze around the house. So it's a really worrying statistic. We can wonder why this age group is so significant in that tailing off. It's worth noting that it's about the time that young people transition from primary school to high school. So that they're changing very significantly the way that they study and the sort of schooling that they have. They might have different groups of friends that arrive on their doorstep in that era. They may discover video games. Their parents probably have a little less control because as we get to being a teenager, we start to sort of flex our muscles and want to take charge of ourselves, and our parents don't have a say in what we do as much. You know, when we're 8 to 10 years old, we tend to do what our parents want us to do. And if they want us to play sport, well, we'll go along and play sport. It's also the time that young people reach puberty, and there's a whole lot of changes in body shape. And that can stop them wanting to put on, skimpy sports costumes because for girls, they're developing breasts. For boys, they might have that bit of puppy fat around their waist and they're feeling very self-conscious. And they're not feeling like they want to get out and exercise and be amongst their friends. And finally, there's the peer group pressure. I have a friend's daughter who started high school recently. And I was asking her the other day how it was going. And she said, well, the classes are okay. But I really miss being able to run around and play chasey at lunchtime because we're not allowed to do that. And it's not that they're not allowed to do that, it's just that the peer group pressure of a high school situation doesn't let girls run around at lunchtime. It's okay for boys to run around and play football or brandy or handball, but girls are expected to just sit down and talk amongst themselves. So all of those things are leading to this decrease in participation and heading those young people to that 60% of people that don't do regular exercise. Now that we have an understanding of some of the trends in the sport and recreation industry, in the next topic, we're going to look at ways that we can maybe increase participation in sport and recreation through being inclusive in our practices.